Hey, today we're back with a Thoughtful Thursday chat, and I'm happy that Gaurav Mehta finally is on Thoughtful Thursday's chat. And the reason for this happiness is we go way long back. We met each other when he was working at OLX. And I think that's a partnership that has grown, and we like working with each other. And while that is at a personal, professional space, I want to formally introduce Gaurav because, of course, you can check on LinkedIn what he's done. Yeah, he's been at OLX, Cardeco, Zupi, Noise. But today, after a very long time, I went and checked his LinkedIn. And what makes him different is that his love for working with entrepreneurs, because he himself was an entrepreneur at one point of time. And that brings a very unique perspective to what he does. And while I knew about it, it just brought back memories of what makes him different from all other marketers that I know. And if you know something very interesting, he is the chap who was a 40 under 40. How did that happen? And that's the reason I said, let's get him on board. Let's talk to him. And I'm sure there are wonderful stories of his journey and his career that he can share with us. So, Gaurav, happy to have you on Thoughtful Thursdays chat.
Always very, very happy to just get a chance to speak to you, Priya. And lovely introduction. So, and when a friend says that, then it means much more. So, thank you so much for that. I've had a tremendous time in the past, what? 24. So, 11 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
11 years
11
of
years of
knowing you and
friendship.
working with you. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So, no, thanks for whatever you have done for me and the companies that I work for.
So brilliant. So we'll start on that because for me, OLX was a brand where I think was magical in many, many ways. When I say that it was a used goods space, which was so nascent, India had not seen something like this. And you took on this challenge to create the brand. I want to hear about that. If you can take us through the milestones, how you build the brand, and it didn't happen in one go. It was over a period of time. If you can talk a little bit about that.
It sounds much more interesting and bigger when you say it like that. No, but I really don't think when I got into OLX in Jan 2013, I had an idea what we were trying to do. Early days of internet and I mean, like, early days of my career also. So you're like, quite a little, I mean, like, dekh lenge jo hoga type of a thing. So there was no fear of failure, very frankly, at that particular point of time.
Mm.
Um, but then I mean, like, the expanse of what OLX was all about is what freed us, because OLX, very frankly, even till date, is relevant for all stratas of society, all age, all genders, all, I mean, anyone and everyone, right? And that is like in itself is like India itself, the brand or the category. And when the expanse is so broad, then you can, like, just go super wild. I mean,
Yeah.
like, and that's why I'm like, there were no, like, horse blinkers ki ye karna hai, ye nahi karna hai, or if that's the tonality, or if that's the brand ambassador we can work with, or that's the story we need to tell. We worked across any and everything's entire spectrum, right? So that to me, I'm like, working for OLX was, for me, was like a kid in a candy shop. There's nothing which was out of bounds, and everything was super great. So you just had to put your finger on it, and it was absolutely relevant. So I'm like, but I think
That's a
OLX, the
very
industry
lovely,
was India.
I think it's such a lovely thing that you said you were like a kid in a candy shop, right? And you were not afraid of trying out anything new.
Yeah.
And what is it that you didn't know that you were trying out and it just came out really well, right? And miraculously it turned out really well for you.
Maybe I'll talk about, like, through data, we found out that Delhi was two times Bombay, Bangalore, three times Chennai, Kolkata, and Hyderabad. And I was like, why is that happening? My media investments are the same, and so on and so forth. My mediums are same, but then I understood the cultural nuancing that needed to be incorporated. And I don't know why that happened to me in November 2013. I just said that, like, these cities have to be treated for the uniqueness that they bring, rather than like one guy in North India doing what he, I mean, thinks is the right thing.
Mm,
So I'm like, that was a very, it's a 10-minute data look and then like an insight coming in the head. But I had no idea it would like, just open up the entire brand and the category. So from March 2014, we went absolutely regional. We had Kapil Sharma for North India. We had Allu Arjun for the Telugu speaking states, Telangana and then Andhra Pradesh. Tamil Nadu, mein we had uh, Dhanush, Sudeep for Karnataka, and so on and so forth. And every story was crafted for that region. And all of a sudden, you had 6 different campaigns in a single campaign. And till date, I don't know of how many people actually have been able to do this successfully. We did it for 3 years. The operational rigor went up miles when we started doing it. But again, there was no fear of failure. There was nothing here. ऐसे थोड़ी ना होता है. मतलब कि there was no one like who was whispering in my ear, don't try and do this. It's too much of an ask. But we did that, and we ran that for almost 3 years. That strategy, and OLX became not just like a big brand, a big business in the bigger cities of the country, but in the smaller cities, in the nooks and corners of the city, because all of a sudden now the brand was starting becoming relevant for everyone. And
mm,
as I said, like when I started off our discussion, that this brand is India. I'm
mm.
like it's relevant for everyone. And now I'm like what Steve Jobs said now that you can only connect the dots looking backwards. I obviously didn't think like that at that time, but when I look at it today, if the brand is relevant for every Indian, then you have to do something which is on a pan India level, but then addressing the heterogeneity of our country. That thing, I'm like, Priya, very frankly, I had no idea what would this blow up into,
Mm.
but it just helped us, like, gain market share, gain brand love, and made the platform extremely liquid in all the nooks and crannies of the country. So
That's
maybe
a
that is one thing.
tremendous, yeah, it's a huge, big learning, right? In hindsight, that this is required because India is culturally so different. And to share with you, Mondelez really focuses on cultural nuances and differences. And I think one of our thing was actually, I think the time we met, I was working with Mondelez, and I remember that they do focus on cultural differences and nuances. And I'm glad you thought that way.
Yeah.
And OLX was a tremendous success because I remember OLX South, we really cracked how to do South, right? And you never said, "Arey North mein chal raha hai, to South mein bhi chalega," right? And I used to always say, I don't understand North, but then I got to understand North and the mindset through you, right? Through working through with OLX, and how a same campaign can be different in different geographies of India. And therefore, people connect differently with the brand. And I think that made OLX a big success.
And I think I'm like, just going a little bit like whatever, not spiritual, but a little bit like, less marketing. When I think you have good intentions, I'm like, then help comes from all sides of the, I'm like, from anywhere. I'm like, I remember uh, initially, I'm like, we were just doing a Tamil script for the Telugu states also.
Mm,
The same script that Dhanush had done, we wanted Allu Arjun also to do the same script. And Allu Arjun gave us like insights that this is not how the Telugu
mm,
audience will accept me.
mm.
Uh, and he gave reasons why that's not the case, and he changed the script. He himself said, "Ki, why don't you do this?" So he understood what we were trying to do, and then he added to that. So I'm like, a good intention found like such strong allies from all over, like you, and like Allu Arjun, and
I
yeah,
think that's so important what you say, and I'm glad you touched on that part. I know part spiritual, part intention, and And I think that's a great way to think, right? You feel very liberated when you were trying out and you believed in it and help came from different corners. Yeah.
Yeah.
To make that happen. And I think while people might not understand the importance of this, but I think underlying principles, human principles at work can also help in creating successful brands. And I think that it might not be seen as the best practice, but I think something to think about and reflect in our journey of who are the kind of partners we want to work with.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think they are the bedrock of any success or failure that you might have in a business.
Correct. Tell me, once you did OLX, you were there for about 4 5 years,
4 years, yeah.
4 years. Did that help you when you moved to Cardeco and Zupi and then Noise? What did you take from there to the other, stints that you did?
Um, I think the first thing that really helped me with OLX that I understood how to work with data.
Hmm.
Uh, Data research, they became my best friends. Um, because hand on heart, the kind of budgets that I was handling used to make me extremely nervous.
Hmm.
And I think I was humble enough to know that I didn't know it all. And that's why I needed, like, any and every help I could get. So that is the first learning that I carried, and I still carry that across with me. The second thing, Priya, and that's where the human quality you spoke about. Uh, I really found that I could um, work with a very disparate group of highly talented individuals,
Hmm.
and just the respect that I got and the love that I got from, very frankly, the almost like 300 to 400 different people that I worked with fairly regularly over the course of 4 years. That just gave me the confidence. You know what? It's not so tough. I'm like, if you're like fair and if you can like make your point compelling enough, then people do listen to you. Then the third thing was just the confidence of creating like a huge internet brand in
Hmm.
the early days of internet. I think those three things have kind of carried through even till date. Um, yeah, I think those three things I would say.
Yeah. I think very interesting and very early days of internet and the coinage of the word MarTech
Yeah.
today. I said, oh my God, it's such an exciting new field that's opened up. And I learned through that process as well, right? Right from your OLX to Cardeco to Zupi. Yeah, very, very interesting. Tell me, you said that data and research became your good friends.
Yeah.
Can you just highlight that importance? Because most people use research in many ways to save their ass sometimes, or they believe that research karna hai nahi to kaise pata chalega. What when you say research became my best friend, how did you use research? And I'm sure you didn't use it because it's not a crutch for you. I've never seen you use research that way. So I think important to highlight how you use research, the importance of it, and how that helped you create a successful brand.
I think maybe I'll just first of all tip my hat to you. Um, I mean, like, we started working together from a comms research perspective, right?
Yeah.
Comms research, typically you will have, like, say, a presentation on like a nice document that will come your way and say, okay, this is working, this is not working. But I
Mm,
think what you did during the 4 years that we worked together at OLX, you made me understand the reason behind why it's working, why it's not working. So
mm,
you added like so much more color for me to understand कि लोगों को ये अच्छा क्यों नहीं लग रहा है. I remember in 2016, one of the campaigns uh, uh, we were like using बेच दे swag से इस तरह से swagalicious or something. I mean, we were doing like some play on swag,
mm,
and at that time, I mean, you explained to me why is it not working in
mm,
2016 or 15, I don't remember. But you explained the reason why it's not working. I mean, like, us sitting in metros, I mean, like, exposed to this particular word and understanding the meaning of this.
mm,
Um, and that happens extremely regularly that you think that you know it all.
mm,
But again, the research and data and the understanding why people behave that way actually makes you, oh, no, I was wrong.
mm,
So I saw that throughout. our interactions over the course of 4 years. So I just didn't understand if my comms is working or not. I understood the reasons why they're working on or not, and that to me was a huge um, what do you call carry forward when I was creating something else. कि Priya told me कि यार ये चीज इसलिए काम नहीं कर रही है, but in my head that is like a constant, right? कि अगर ये चीज काम नहीं कर रही है, then what I'm creating now, that also might not work, because that cultural code or that uniqueness will still stay. So I think that helped me a lot. But apart from that, apart from like comps research, we also did a lot of cultural coding of the different states. We also did the an understanding from just like the most interesting piece of research that I ever did was like just to understand the relation of used goods and us Indians from a psychological, ethnographical, I don't know, religious, historical perspective. How do we look at like used goods? And I remember going and talking to psychologists and like priests and all that, and understanding the cultural nuancing of this thing. So I think I mean that is for me the my golden phase of research. I just
Yeah.
through OLX I understood India.
Absolutely. And I think in that journey, understood India a little more nuanced, right? When we are on that journey and we're putting that lens and that focus. And for me, the OLX study that we did together, which was the Indian woman study and understanding used goods and
Yeah,
her relationship with money.
yeah,
And that I think was for me a moment of truth. The stash of money that she has. And if you remember, there was this one group, and we were talking to these women, and she says, I'm making money. I
yeah.
sold my air conditioning and I made 2,000 rupees. And I remember the other women said, really?
Hmm.
How did you do that? And then
Yeah,
I knew whatever we were doing was working, right?
yeah,
And I think there was so much to learn from that, because I think I want to say that, and Gaurav, you've told me that I can brag a little about the work that we do. I think we were creating and building a brand
yeah,
and the challenge of a brand, and we were taking every bit of that learning and saying, what do we know now? Can we use that the next time?
yeah,
Can we use that the next time? And I think we just got better what would work and not work.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I think the beauty of that, and I think I would even say our creative agency partners, I think that time, was it Leo Burnett as well?
Leo Burnett was doing our digital initiatives, and Lo was our mainline.
And I think we all understood we were creating something beautiful.
Yeah,
Was never a conflict. And the reason for pointing this out is we always think that when there's a creative agency, a research partner, the marketing, everybody's at loggerheads.
yeah,
I want to burst that myth. It's not necessarily that way. If we have that intention, what you said, Gaurav, and if that's the focus, I think everybody comes together to create that. And I want to leave that as one big, um, something that you take away from this conversation. You don't need to be in conflict with anybody if you know what you're creating and if it's something meaningful that you're going to create at the end of the day. Yeah. Tell me,
absolutely.
tell me, how was it at Gardeco and Zupi, and were the things that were different, right? OLX was
Yeah.
like we were like kid in a candy shop, right? Uh, how was it at Gardeco and Zupi? Was it different for you? Did you have to change tag? Did you have to think differently?
No, absolutely. 180-degree away. I mean, like, Car Deco was 180-degree away from OLX. Zupi was 180-degree away in the other direction from Car Deco. So it is like, I'm like, that pinball machine, na?
Yeah.
The ball just keeps on going all over the place. So imagine me as the ball. Uh, I was I'm like, all over the place. From like, there was no comfort per se that like, you're just starting from the same place that you left like the earlier assignment at. But I think that is the beauty of having worked in and built so many startups. Because if OLX felt like being like a kid in a candy shop. Then when I arrived at Karthik, it was almost like he on a what? I'm just trying to like find the right analogy. Some of them are just too uh, dark. I'm just like trying to like. It is like being in a full on.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is maybe the right. It is full on in the trenches, battlefront, First World War.
Hmm.
Trust me, I'm like, if you think this is dark enough, I'm like the other analogies that I was thinking were like even much more dark.
This is
So I
good.
was just like,
This is good. In the trenches. This is
yeah.
good.
And then when you're in the trenches, right, officers, soldiers, everyone, I mean, like, you are just doing everything to just make sure that you are living to see the next day.
Hmm.
That's a different kind of camaraderie, brotherhood, um, and very different tactics also.
Hmm.
Uh, so Kardeko, I'm like, again, at a very young stage of the company, I had joined the company. Uh, but then I think Kardeko was always a very, very business focused company
Hmm.
and going through its own set of huge problems when I joined.
Hmm.
So there was no time to learn. There was no ask also ki paisa kahan hai, because there was no money. So you just had to do everything. I mean, like, you had to go and monetize well. You had to go sell solutions. You had to go get growth from organic means without any money. You had to like learn content very, very quickly, work with the edit team. So I think Car Deco experience just honed my business acumen to the nth degree.
Hmm.
Uh, I think they couldn't have been a better company than Car Deco after my OLX stint,
Hmm.
because it just made me operate in a very different environment. And after 18 months of joining, we became like, I think, operationally profitable for the first time. We raised $100 million in November of 18, if I'm not wrong. November of 18, yeah.
Yeah, I remember
And
2 years became so quiet. I said, "Where's this man gone? What's happening?"
but
Uh,
it's just like a duck. ऊपर तो
hmm.
लग रहा है कि चुपचाप बैठा हुआ है. Under we were like just pedaling furiously just to
Hmm.
make sure where we were going. So yeah, so the first 18, 19 months of my car Deco stint, we were in the trenches, working with the product teams, working with the content tech teams, because didn't have any money for marketing. So I
Hmm.
just learned the whole growth philosophy at Cardeco tremendously. Worked with very, very strong leaders, extremely high talent density,
Hmm.
um, and just a very great bunch of people. But then eventually made it into the largest auto tech company in the country. Had a great time. Very, very different learnings, very different way of operating from OLX. I'm like 180-degree away. Um, so
I
yeah,
remember
loved
the
every
story
second of
that you had told me, and I'm glad you brought out the product tech focus that you did in the
it.
first
Hmm.
8 months. I remember that because I remember that vividly because we both were buying cars at the same time. And I remember I went to the car deco interface because you had joined, and I said, huh, something new. And I said, I mean, I'm not being able to buy a car. It's not helping me, right?
Hmm.
And you said, shit, glad you told me. And I
Hmm.
remember you worked on the back end and the product because you had fantastic talent, you told me,
Yeah,
sitting. And, people forget the simple things. And I think what you did was first work on the product because you know that
yeah,
getting customer acquisition would not make sense if your product tech was not going to work seamlessly. And I
yeah,
think that is what I took away as a lesson when you joined Car Deco. And that told me, hey, listen, it's not about always building that big campaign, correct?
yeah,
Because from OLX, it was so different at Car Deco. You first worked on that, what required the focus.
yeah,
And that taught me something also, Gaurav. I said, "Ye har bar, it's not required, a celebrity is not required. You don't have to make a 20 crore campaign all the time to create a brand, right? In fact, the consumers created the brand because your
yeah,
product was so good.
yeah,
You understood the need, you worked on that. It was car deco, correct?
yeah,
And you worked on that. And for me, that was the lesson that I took from Kardeko. Of course, there were many other beautiful things that happened. Yeah. But this tells you fundamentally that where should your focus be? And I think you adapted to the environment. From OLX to Kardeko was completely different for you. Yeah. And again, the humility and rootedness that this is what I have to do. I have to be in the trenches. I have to work with my team. And Gaurav, I think that is the same thing from OLX to Cardeco, that you can work with different people, disparate set of people.
Yeah. This
And I
is
think that's a gift. That's your strength. And and not everyone can do that. And if I put you in a different environment, you'll figure out what needs to be done. Correct? And
so. I think I learned that lesson pretty well. As a laid back person, you're not too faced by too many things, or you don't have very strong opinions on people also. कि
hmm,
मैं इसी तरह के लोग के साथ काम करूंगा उन तरह के. So because I worked across like all spectrum of people, very highly opinionated people, very in your face, very laid back, very agreeable, very modest, very talented. I'm like, you could like just say कि यार इस तरह का इंसान है, I'll give you a name, maybe 5 names.
characters.
Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, वही कि I think if you make other person understand that you're just here for the common good,
Hmm.
then they also like shed their pretenses or their क्या बोलते हैं yeah, pretenses actually. Then you
All
connect
the
on.
cards, the
Yeah, yeah,
facades. Yeah.
yeah. And then you connect on a common good. मतलब वो होता है ना common minimum platform. I think a lot of like coalition governments always work on this one, the common. So the ability to find that common minimum platform with pretty much all the people that I worked with was maybe a secret superpower that I had somehow. And because of that, I mean, like, you could get your work done. You never had to like, go running to the headmaster ki "Ye mera kaam nahi kar raha hai," and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, did well
What
on that front.
this conversation, guys, I think we are having I think our conversations have always been profound, and it's always leads me to reflect on our friendship and our professional journey. And I think this is something that we have never spoken about,
Yeah,
Gaurav. This is your secret superpower. And 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 I think what you said is, if a person doesn't have to have pretenses working with you, then they're actually working. They
yeah,
don't have to keep doing other things,
yeah,
correct? And and you come with that sense all the time when you come to work. And therefore you're creating a great, pleasant environment to work. And therefore people thrive. And I think that's another lesson to be learned. It takes, maybe you've honed it, maybe you've thought about it. It's part of your spiritual philosophy, way of life, and thinking about things and reflecting about it. And I think it's a very different way to lead your professional life and your personal life. And I don't see a separation. And therefore, this is something that one can learn. And I think that was a good, I just wanted to stop you and talk about that. Yeah. These are those moments that happen to us. Uh, so that's
but yeah, you know what? On just jocular level, this is the middle child syndrome. Yeah, I mean, like I was in my whole extended family of cousins. I was like the absolute Madhya Pradesh or middle child. So northwest, east, south, you have to like work with everyone, and so yeah. I mean, like as the middle child in an extended family of cousins, I mean, like you learn how to get along with people. Otherwise, either you're gonna get bashed up or so.
That's a nice
So,
one. And
so
it's funny because I always ask people in my company, are you the eldest? Are you the middle child? Are you the youngest? They're like, why are you asking us all these things? I said, then I know how you're operating, right? And
yeah,
I know
yeah,
what skills you have learned. And if you've been in a nuclear family or a joint family, then I know exactly what's happening, right?
yeah.
So it was too
Because
funny.
the eldest kid will have like a chip on the shoulder. कि मैं सबसे
Yes,
बड़ा हूँ.
yes.
Listen to me. The younger kid will have all sort of entitlement. कि I need this thing. The middle child is like, अरे मेरे को दोनों काम करने
ना
पड़ेंगे.
धोबी ना घाट का.
So you kind of like I think the middle child and just like if people ask me about my role models apart from family, one of the first names that I always have said, not today but for the past I think what, since he made his debut, Rahul Dravid. I mean, like,
Mm,
he's one person. I mean, like, he's the only person I actually have looked up to in the past 30 years. And I've done that constantly. And if you look at it, he's done the same thing. Um, Not very talented, not like, in your face. And I'm like, but he worked beautifully. He did what he did. And he continues to, I mean, he continued to do what he did.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think वही आप slowly imbibe करते हो चीजें from people you look up to.
How was that moment when you actually shot with Rahul Dravid, right? For Kar Dekho? How was that feeling?
I wasn't there on the shoot. The team was there, but he was good enough to send me his own bat signed, and it was my birthday, so he sent me happy birthday, Gaurav, and all. So it's one of my most cherished possessions.
That's so lovely. And I that's my segue into my next question. Gaurav, you always use celebrities, correct? I meet a lot of people and वो एक प्लेबुक होता है कि ब्रांड बनाना है तो सेलिब्रिटीज यूज करेंगे एंड पीयूष पांडे जस्ट सेड इट द ब्रांड विल से एक नहीं पर दो तीन चार होंगे अभी एड में so but I've always seen you being very judicious, very using a lot of discretion in the choice of your celebrities. I wanted to talk about that because you have a lot of experience how to choose one. Why did you choose Akshay over somebody else? We also had scripts that we would write, and we said we didn't do justice to the celebrity, or the celebrity didn't match the script. I wanted to shed light on this because I get asked this question day in and day out.
So I think I had like great campaigns with celebrities and without celebrities also, but I think I was always very that the celebrity has to be used as a character. Can't be like, just coming in, sauntering, doing his or her job. I'm like, I'm a celebrity, and then not like really adding to the fabric of the brand or the film or the story that you're trying to tell. So that is, I was super, super clear from day one. I'm like, the first celebrity that we worked with was Kapil Sharma back in 2013. And I think that is he had done a little Neeboo's ad sometimes in 2011 or 2012, but we were the first brand that he signed up with. Um, and I knew, I'm like, OLX is India, India is OLX, and so on and so forth. I'm like, who better than Kapil Sharma? And then sometimes when you have like a category as dry as you
Mhm.
could classify it, you have to like bring more flavor to it,
Yeah.
uh, or more fun to it. And I think there was no better person at that time than Kapil Sharma. And he did wonders for us.
Mm.
And the best thing about like Kapil Sharma was that eventually I understood that you have to like give him the direction. You don't have to give him the entire script.
Mm.
And with his talent, with his, I'm like, just what makes him him, he was able to like take it to the nth level.
Mm.
So you almost had like people like I told you about Allu Arjun. He took something and he made it his own.
Mm.
So I think my in my thing, I'm like obviously use them for the role that they. I'm like, are they being a part of the fabric or are they just using the celebrity part? That is
Mm.
never my. The second was never my blueprint. The second was to make them understand what is it that we're trying to do, not just tell them about the script, but as a business, what is it that we're trying to do? Because look, had the support of great partners like you and Low and Leo Burnett and other agencies and media agencies who were like helping us crowd great potentially great ad campaigns. Yeah. And there was no reason why these achievers would say that this is not a good ad campaign or this is not a good story. They were all very excited because we had gone through a process executed by extremely high talented individuals.
Mm.
And the final outcome that used to go to them was of such nature that they would also gravitate towards it. So two things worked with working with celebrities. One, they knew the role that they were playing and the problem statement as a business that I was bringing to them, and just the quality of product that they were responding to,
Mm.
or they had to like go and play a part in. I think those two made the celebrities. I mean, I never had. Let me just. I think all the celebs that I worked with, I mean, be it Salman Khan, anyone. I think I mean they understood what we were trying to do and they brought the uniqueness. I mean, none of them were like, "कि हाँ ठीक है दे दो मैं करके जा रहा हूँ अभी."
Mm.
No, they were all like part of the whole creative process. I'm like Allu Arjun. when we were shooting that ad, I'm like, I just take my hat off to that man. First, he amended the script himself. He said, "Ki meko do." And then we were shooting. I remember he had extreme back pain. So after every shot, he used to go to lie down, get a bit of physio. And I was like, because you at shoot, you pay through shifts, 8-hour shifts and all. But I'm telling you, Priya, none of the uh, director, cinematographer, they were not like, cribbing at all. And this man, Allu Arjun, shot for 26 hours straight. He said, Kia, Gaurav, don't worry. I mean, like, I know I'm having problems, but you will get your ads out. I'm not going to say, Ki abhi mera ho gaya. 26 hours. Yeah, he just gave us. Um, so, I mean, there are so many stories. Yeah. I'm like, Rahul Dravid, the money did not hit his bank, when the shoot happened, it was happening. He said, no problem. I mean, like, I know you guys, we'll shoot. And the money actually hit his bank like 2 days later. He
Mm.
gave us like more than the allotted hours. He was one of these are people, then they compel you to do better in your professional life also. I'm like, Rahul Dravid has had a personal impact on me, though I never met him. I've spoken to him.
Mm.
But everybody else had like a huge professional impact on what they did for us. So Akshay Kumar, even Mahesh Babu, all these guys, yeah, like crazy good people.
I think I like the word crazy good people, right? And again, it goes back to the intention, what you're doing, and how that comes together, right? The forces conspire to make that happen. And it left me with the thought, Gaurav, do you personally brief them on what they're going to be doing? I just wanted to understand, or is it a team? Sometimes it just gets relegated to someone. I just wanted to understand that because I've never asked you that personally. So I found it very interesting to ask you that.
Um, no, 80% of the work is done by the team. I'm
Mm,
extremely clear that the brand directors and the media managers, the media heads, I'm like, at the end of the day, it's their campaign.
mm.
I'm bringing the business perspective to it. So, and I never had like that starry thing कि मैं जाके करूंगा and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think I ever did that. I only like, when I met them at a later time, I made them understand the business problems कि हमें ये क्यों करना है. Um,
So you
because I
would be
think,
on the sets. You would be on the sets for the shoot.
yeah,
And
absolutely. And then before that, I would meet them and I would explain to them why is this story the one that we've chosen?
mm, mm.
Why is what does the business ask? I'm like, what are we trying to do as a business because of which the story has taken birth? So 80%, 85% of the work used to be done by the team. Their campaign, their babies. And very frankly, I have had the chance to work with insanely good people in my team. And I knew that they can handle, I'm like, any uh, whatever things out of the syllabus very, very easily.
I love this
So,
out of syllabus thing because I think that's so important. That just teaches you how to deal with things, right?
yeah,
To mollycoddle everyone. I think everybody's been on that, should learn that. Yeah.
yeah,
The reason for asking you that is again to highlight that when you have a talented team,
yeah,
you don't need to micromanage that team. That 20% that Gaurav does is what you need to do because that's why you have your team. That's why you have people working for you, right? Because they themselves see a different purpose, they find meaning in the work that they do. And again, they're championing that one thought, that the brand that they're building, right? And I think that's so, so important. We're almost close to ending this chat, but I wanted to ask you, you never ever, a lot of people nowadays say they write what their career is going to look like. I don't know how they do that. Did you ever think that you were going to be under 40, get that award, 40 under 40?
Priya, very frankly, I had no idea. And I'm just, how this sounds like faltu ka humility, modesty. I had no idea. I think things just happened along the journey.
Mm.
Um, like if I look at it, like I've been working for 22 years. The first 6 years of my career, like the HR teams wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. Yeah. I
Mm,
was doing my own thing. I had my own branding and consulting back home in Jaipur for 3 years,
mm,
couple of agency stints, so on and so forth. And people, and while my peers are in established jobs and doing things that they're supposed to be doing after a good MBA from Micah and all that, and
mm,
I was like just marching to my own drum beat. So I've always had a very organic view of my career, but I always knew that I will only and only leave uh, when I don't think I'm adding enough more value.
mm,
When my value is gonna go down. I always I always give this example. Maybe the current cricket watchers might not relate with this example, but I'll still give this thing. Like Sunil Gavaskar and Kapil Dev, like two Indian, I mean, worldwide legends. I mean, the best players ever to play cricket. I think Kapil, as great as he is, he retired 2 years later after his prime. He was
mm,
obviously chasing his world record and 434 wickets he eventually ended up with. But people are like, as soon as done, he's gone. And Sunny Gavaskar, he scored 96 in his last test innings on a dog of a pitch against Pakistan. We lost that match in Bangalore,
mm,
but he had fairly built it. Like he had, this is my last match. I want to go on a high. I want to be going out when I still have a lot to contribute rather than juice it out. And
mm,
so I followed Mr. Sunny Gavaskar's philosophy, always did that. And I think we, when I always found someone else who wanted to build a company along with me. Um, that's what I did. So एकदम organically हुआ. And be the career opportunities that came or the accolades that came.
mm,
Um, yeah, but then I think in the past, what 2008 I joined digital. I think in 2013 onwards OLX. So 2008 Yahoo, 2013 OLX. I think from 13 OLX, I think 11-12 साल में I think I would have done like 25-30 years of job.
mm,
So work. So abhi, that's how I look at it. Yeah. It was extremely organic. All the accolades that came along. Couldn't be more grateful. But yeah, after a point of time, things happen if you
mm.
do the right things.
So fantastic. I think we had a lot of those profound moments, lots of things for us to reflect. So I want to ask you, what is the last piece of advice you want to give? Unless you want to, is there something that got left behind?
No,
Yeah.
I don't have any profound thoughts in my head. I just answer questions. I don't have
Yeah.
any.
Yeah. I think this was one of those interviews where I can almost sense that it was magical because not because we know each other. It is just the thought and the principle of our singular objective is to do meaningful work and put out something of value. And that came through in this conversation today. And I thank you, Gaurav, for taking out the time and being part of this thoughtful Thursdays with Priya Lobo chat. And hope you all find it enjoyable and valuable.
No,
So
thanks,
till
Priya.
next time. Yeah, till
It
next time.
sounded like a great chat on a nice picnic bench in a nice park.
Yes, absolutely. I just felt we were somewhere else and not
Yeah,
in our rooms.
yeah.
So great.
Take care. Had a great time.